Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB Strategy Show. It's Friday, man. We're heading into the weekend. We got USA playing today at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a good day. Feeling good about this one. 12-game slate. Jacob Misiorowski towing the rubber at 12,500. Woo! A lot of happy Misiorowski Day comments already in chat. I tell you what, man. I don't think I'm going to jam him today. I think I end up getting to a lot of Misiorowski. I'm not convinced I jam him, though. We'll talk about it. We will. He's 12,500 on the road against the Atlanta Braves. This should be fun. As always, if you don't mind. Hey, you're watching now, you're watching after the fact. It doesn't matter when or where you're watching or how. Atone for your sins this fine morning. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. You help power this show, and I appreciate it. We like doing free content around here, and there are ways to allow us to keep doing that. You know what I mean? But yeah, dude, it's happening. And I would highly recommend you check out the perfect lineup video, which will be out momentarily. So when you're done with this, you can check that one out. We may have left the reservation, so to speak. Am I allowed to say that anymore? Left the reservation. I don't know. I'm going to keep saying it because it drives home the point I'm trying to make, but go check it out. Yeah, glad you guys could join this morning. And I will say, Musk, you're on time today. Good. Me too. We're going to dive into it all right now. So let's make it happen. And this is one of those slates where not only do I think the high end looks very good, but I think there are a couple guys that are a little bit cheaper who also look quite decent. Now, you have Misiorowski. You have Cam Schlittler at home against the Cincinnati Reds, who are no strangers to striking out. You have Jacob deGrom at home against the Padres team. That is a far cry from the Padres team that we know from seasons past. Okay? So if you think this one's cut and dry, I can tell you right now it's not. Let me get a quote tweet out here. Hold on. All right. There we go. Yeah, man. Yeah, Larry, I will say, I mean, I should just become an armchair meteorologist at this point. Did I not say at 11 in the morning, actually 9 o'clock in the morning when I did the perfect lineup, did I not say, hey, this game probably gets postponed? Who needs a degree when you have a radar? And that game did, in fact, get postponed. So sometimes it just works out. Anyway, hey, good stuff, man. How do I say your name? Burgett Mister? Burgettimer? We'll call you Burgettimer. You can tell me how, but took second in the mini-max last night. Been watching the stream since the Awesome days. Thank you, fellas, for all the info you provide. Awesome, man. Congratulations. Love to see it. As a matter of fact, there was a mini-max on the early slate that was the first, second, and third place were all stochastic yesterday, which is awesome. And then I actually chopped it with our boy. I chopped it with D's Nuts Taken on Tuesday or Wednesday. And our boy Morgan took down 50K on the same day. So it's been a sick little run. DFS Golden took down 50K on Monday. Yeah, dude, things are good right now. Use MLB. What better way to take yourself into the weekend? Use MLB Strategy. Code 15% off any weekly or monthly sub, including all access. So you want to jump in on the PGA showdowns over the weekend, big NASCAR, UFC, all of that, MLB Strategy gets you 15% off any core or max monthly or weekly sub. And that includes all access as well. Let's keep the hits rolling. I want to come back here on Monday with a collage put together of fucking PGA wins, like this one. The 200K, the 100K PGA, the 54K NBA, not exactly possible right now, but you get the point. And a bunch of 10 and 15K baseball. That's what I want to do. I want to come back on Monday, sit down in this chair, and start ripping off all of those all of those good stuff. By the way, that is the wrong overlay. This is not the week 1 first look show. There we go. All right, so let's dive into it. But yeah, congrats to all the winners. Love to see it. Baseball, Dad, 6 of the top 10 in the quarter were stochastic last night. It's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, man. Anyway, I want to get into some of this. I will say, Renee Fuentes, what's up, my brother? Came in 6 in the $3 on FanDuel. All thanks to you guys. I know I'm going to hit first one of these days. Can't wait for that mobile app. The mobile app's coming. It's on the way. It's on the way. But obviously, some of the stuff is going to have to be still desktop. Like, you're not going to want to run the full-out Sims in mobile. It's going to be, that'd be difficult, you know? But let's see what we've got cooking today, all right? We'll go to projected fantasy points here. I already set the filters. You know, it really is insane that, like, I mean, what's up, Jake? It really is insane that Mizorowski projects not just as the highest pitcher, but like every single day, this guy's projecting 4 points, 5 points higher than the next best pitcher. And that's not like, oh man, he's projecting 5 points higher today than Reed Detmers and 5 points higher than the next best pitcher on the slate, which is, you know, throw any okay pitcher out there that's good but not great. You know what I mean? That's not what's happening. It's not like, oh man, you know, he's 5 points higher than Shota Imanaga. That's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He's 4 points or 3.5 points higher than Jacob deGrom, who has the Padres. Cam Schlittler, who's a fantastic pitcher, who has the Cincinnati Reds. So yeah, obviously, Jacob Mizorowski looks excellent today. We're going to get to a bunch of Jacob Mizorowski. That's just the way it is. But also, I think it would be a grave mistake to just sleep on Jacob deGrom today as well. You're getting a $2,500 discount on Jacob deGrom. All right. So, I mean, that's the first order of business. You're talking 25% or $2,500 discount on deGrom. He's going up against the Padres team that has been completely anemic against right-handed pitching this year, right? Like, if you look at the Padres are dead last in weighted on base average against righties on the among all teams' active rosters. The only team worse in WRC plus against righties this year has been the Boston Red Sox. And I mean, marginally worse. You're talking about a 89 WRC plus for the Padres, 87 for Boston. The Padres are 24th in in ISO, and they're striking out at the 10th highest clip. Again, you take Luis Arias out of the lineup, who has a 4% strikeout rate, and immediately you're going to see that number climb. Last year, they were 25th in K rate. This year, they're 10th highest. So that's pretty wild. And, you know, you look across all of the pitchers going today, deGrom does have a good matchup. You know, another funny thing, he has a 16.9% swinging strike rate. It's the second highest in all of baseball. Mizorowski is at 17%. Jacob deGrom's at 16.9. Mizorowski, look, clearly better strikeout stuff. Higher called strike rate, so much higher called plus swinging. It's the highest in the league by a mile. But he's also priced for it. By the way, this is no indictment or like, hey, fade Jacob Mizorowski show. I can promise you that much. We're going to get to Mizorowski. He's just been that good. But all I'm saying is the matchup for Mizorowski is worse, you know, than deGrom. And I looked at our exposures early in the day, and I'm going to show you what it is right now. So if you look at our exposure on our first Sims run, it is Mizorowski 59%, and then deGrom at 35%. I totally get it. You know, I think if deGrom weren't on this slate, you'd probably be getting like 80% Mizorowski. But the matchup for deGrom is so good in this spot that he has to occupy some space in our lineups today. How could he not? Right? How do you not? Really hard to get away from. Like 6.5K prop, one of the lowest totals, implied totals on the slate. As a matter of fact, the lowest implied total on the slate is the San Diego Padres at 3.2. The Braves are at 3.5. It's just Mizorowski can mitigate any damage with those crazy strikeout numbers. You know? But that all exists. And I think even, Cam Schlittler is one of those guys where on any other slate, we might be jamming Cam Schlittler. Like the Reds have a 3.4 run implied total today. Cam Schlittler, despite the fact that there isn't great weather in this park today, for pitchers, Cam Schlittler still has a 6.5 K prop with juice to the over. He still has a 17, really 18.5 in some spots out prop. And earn run allowed prop is going to be 1.5 on Cam Schlittler. So he still looks really good. Really good. All three of these guys, as a matter of fact, up top, if you pull it up in the data hub, all three of them, Mizorowski, DeGrom, and Schlittler, all look really good. Now, I've only looked at the top of our exposures so far because I wanted to see how much Mizorowski, DeGrom, and Schlittler we were getting. I haven't looked at seeing whether or not we're getting to like Ranger Suarez or Soroka, but I think those guys become more difficult to get to at their respective price points because DeGrom's 10K, Schlittler's 10.4, Mizorowski's 12.5. So if you're getting around 60% Mizorowski, 35% DeGrom, and 15% Cam Schlittler, how do you possibly get to guys like Soroka and Ranger Suarez with any volume? You can't. Not at $92 and $8,600. It becomes very difficult. And we're getting 11% Sasaki. I want to talk before we get to Tatsuya Imai, because I actually think that's a really fascinating spot today against Cleveland. I want to talk to you guys about the Seattle situation. And I'd love to get your thoughts on this because I have some thoughts here. All right. Jake Swales, Miz and Schlittler with cheap Kansas City. If you can do it, go for it. I don't know. I do like DeGrom over Schlittler today. I do. It's a personal preference, but I do like DeGrom over Cam Schlittler today. Do with that as you please, but to me, that would be the spot that I'm interested in. Einsteinium, Soroka has been solid and Mini isn't great. Yes, but the opportunity cost there, I think, is very high on Soroka today. I think the opportunity cost is high. Larry, the Seattle stuff is weird. Either go 6-man or trade one of them. Look, I don't understand why they're doing this, and they're calling it like the piggyback situation. They're calling Bryce Miller the probable opener. If you remember, when the first time they did this with the opener, if you remember, I sat here on this very show and said, I'll bet you that Bryce Miller is not the opener and in fact just functions as a starting pitcher. And maybe Luis Castillo pitches an inning or two. And I got some pushback on that, rightfully so, because it was kind of, no one knew what was going on. And what happened? He went out there and he threw 5 2/3, 1 hit, scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts. And he was $7,000. There was no point for Bryce Miller. You think about it like this. People go, well, he's the probable opener. And even DraftKings has him labeled as a probable opener today. Explain this to me. Why in the world? Why would Bryce Miller, who is actually, he's been the best pitcher for the Seattle Mariners this season, by the way. He's been better than Gilbert. He's been better than Brian Wu. If you're looking at their full body of work, he's been better by far than Luis Castillo. He's been better than George Kirby. He's been the best pitcher for Seattle. He's been better than Emerson Hancock. So why would you send him out there as an opener? Right? Like you're going to send him out there and let the guy pitch. And if you don't, it makes 0 sense. 0 sense whatsoever. How many pitches does he throw? I don't know. His last 2 actual starts, he's gone 6 innings, 1 hit, no earned, 9 strikeouts, 94 pitches. He went 8 innings, 8 4-hit, 2 runs, and it was on 2 solo shots with 7 Ks and no walks last time. Like, what are we doing here? Why? Why are we trying to shoehorn Luis Castillo into some role like this? And actually, Castillo's been better lately. But why? If you're going to do it, yeah, and you have like a supreme amount of faith in all of these guys, including Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, Miller, Hancock, Wu, Castillo, just run a 6-man rotation normally. Stop going back to this opener, long reliever, where they're called piggyback bullshit. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Maybe it is the money, but if it's the money, then just run a 6-man rotation. Castillo, his last, 4 appearances have been better. I don't know. I just look at this as one of these spots where it's like Bryce Miller has been so good, and now you've got him going up against Boston. There is genuinely a part of me today that believes, and please feel free to disagree with me. I wouldn't fault you for it. There is truly a part of me that believes Bryce Miller is underowned and will be even more underowned because he has the probable opener label next to his name. I mean, I said it to you guys yesterday, and I said it already today when we talked about Brian Wu. And I'm sure some people were like, man, I can't believe Laffy went out there and the Sims were underweight on Joe Ryan. By the way, Joe Ryan was good. And if you paired him with Brian Wu, that would have been great as well. But it didn't really matter because what ended up happening was you still got a really good start out of, who was it? Out of Parker Messick, right? So you got more fantasy points for Parker Messick at lower ownership. And then Brian Wu was the guy that we got to a ton of yesterday. Right? Brian Wu, we got to a boatload of. So Ryan goes out there, kind of labors a little bit, right? Limited runs really well, but only pitched 5 innings. He threw like 70 pitches through 3 innings. You knew he wasn't going to go deep. Brian Wu went 7 scoreless with 3 hits and 9 strikeouts, 4 base runners on 89 pitches. He could have gone 8. Had 35 DraftKings points against this same, or against Baltimore, right? Now you've got the same park, except you have actually a better matchup. A better matchup. Because Boston's terrible against righties. Now, do they strike out at a lesser clip against righties? They do. They're at 21%. It's middle of the road. But they also have one of the lowest walk rates, the lowest WRC plus, the lowest WOBA in the league. Their 139 ISO is second to only, is 4th worst in the league. Like, it is a objectively good matchup. Boston's tied for the lowest team total on the slate at 3.2 with the Padres, who are facing DeGrom. So is there actually an argument, even at 8,900, to consider playing Bryce Miller? I actually think it's possible. Now, here's the thing. If Bryce Miller is struggling, I look at it like this. And Larry says, Castillo's gone like 4 innings plus in last 4 games, so he's a monkey wrench if he's going well. Do they leave him in 3? Right. So, but here's the thing. Can't you say the same thing about Bryce Miller, who's dominated? If Bryce Miller is going strong, why are you pulling Bryce Miller after 3 innings? Like, if he's just crushing and he's fully stretched out, we already know that. Bryce Miller has no issues as far as being stretched out goes. No, of course not. As a matter of fact, you look at his last couple of appearances, 94 and 91 pitches. So at 8,900, going up against the team with the tied for the lowest total on the slate, and 5% ownership, 5% ownership to Bryce Miller, this may be a guy that I look to boost. He's been so good. Like, Bryce Miller's been one of the best pitchers in the league since he returned to the rotation. It's just like, honestly, it's kind of weird to me that he has a 4.5 strikeout prop. It's kind of weird. You know, you're talking about a guy on the season that has a K rate that far exceeds those expectations. You know, he's striking out 29% of batters with a 4% walk rate on the year. He's been absurdly efficient with his pitches. I could just be seeing this one completely backwards. And right now, we're not getting to any of them in the Sims. We have one Bryce Miller lineup. He's 8,900, so I get it. The guy could go 6 innings today. He could go 6 scoreless with 9 strikeouts. I'm just saying. He could. He could. I would rather get to him, I think, over Soroka. You know, I'd rather get to him over Ranger Suarez because of how bad the Boston Red Sox are. And quite frankly, how good Bryce Miller is. It's a risk. It's a big risk. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know. Like the fact that he has probable opener next to his name. Damn. People are going to look at that and be like, dude, I don't want to play an opener. Tiffany, Boston's pretty awful. Do you really think they're going to pull? I don't know. I mean, look, they've done this 3 or 4 times, and every single one of those times he's gone 5+ innings. So the only concern here is they limit him to like 80 pitches. That would suck. But he went 5 2/3 with 1 hit. I don't know. Dude, this makes no sense. Like the 3 times, 5 innings, 1 hit, 6 strikeouts, 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, 4 strikeouts, and then 5 2/3, 1 hit, 7 strikeouts. Why wouldn't you just let this guy rip? Just let him go. Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, of course, it's a great pitcher's park. I won't spend the whole show on Bryce Miller, but I did want to talk about him. Lee Price, the 14.5 outs prop scares me. I hear you. Yeah, look, 14.5 outs prop, 4.5 strikeout prop, juice to the over. But I do think a lot of this is that we just don't know as well. Don't you think? I think there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding a guy like Bryce Miller still. Stay off my grass. I'm so jealous on y'all. Y'all really know ball. I'm listening though hard as I can. I'm a newbie. What? Don't be jealous. You're in the right spot, man. Plus, there's a lot of sharp people in chat that if you ever have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Mostly nice people in here that are willing to help out. Everyone's been at the beginning, at the ground floor before. It's kind of how I feel with soccer right now. I just started coaching my daughter's team because they needed a volunteer and nobody signed up. And I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. It's actually kind of fun. And granted, she's young, so you don't really have to know the rules, but I want to. I don't want to look like a dumbass. So I've been watching a lot of these World Cup games and just familiarizing myself more with soccer, and I'm loving it. So, enjoy it, man. It's kind of like, who I'm jealous of? The people that like have never watched The Wire before and you recommend it and they're like, oh, that sounds like a fun watch. I'll check that out. They're virgin Wire watchers or Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones or The Sopranos, right? Those are the people I'm jealous of who have never watched those shows before. And sure, or like the first season of True Detective with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. And they're like, no, I've never even heard of that. You scumbag. Go watch it, but also you're a scumbag because now you get to do so. Those are the type of people that I envy, right? And it's like, man, I'd love to experience that for the first time again. Soak it up, man. Soak it up. Enjoy the learning process. There's so much to learn and there's so much to enjoy along the way. So, yeah, man. Yeah. Lee Price, does USA win? I know nothing about soccer. I mean, you're asking the wrong guy. They're favorites. On the 3-way money line, they're favorites. So, I mean, that says something. Josh, never watched Game of Thrones. Well, you should. You should. See, this is what I'm talking about. Jags fan. I've never watched The Wire. Scumbag. Jags fan, just a scumbag. I'm joking. Go watch it, man. Seriously, go watch it. It's the greatest thing ever. It really is. Like it's in my opinion, it's truly the best television show ever created. And I think many of you would agree. Grant, Sasaki looks like an okay pivot. Yeah, it's funny you'd mention that because if you look at our exposure right now, we actually have a good amount of Sasaki. We have 10.7%. That's not nothing when you consider that we're not getting to a lot of pitchers today. Like, look at this. We're getting a lot of Mizorowski. I'll talk about Imai in a second. We're getting the DeGrom, Jeffrey Springs. That one, man, that's crazy. But 6,300, I do understand it. We're getting to some Cam Schlittler, some Sasaki, and that's really it. Like, I don't think any of you guys are champing at the bit to get to like Bubba Chandler in Coors or Ranger at 8,600. The strikeout stuff just isn't significant enough. Tanner Bybee coming off a brilliant start, but against Houston, I don't love that. Griffin Jacks, Michael Soroka at 9,200. Bryce Miller, like I said, I may boost him a little bit. I'm going to do it a little bit. If I could get to like 10% Bryce Miller, I'd be okay with that. You 2x the field with only 10%. I don't want Rhett Lauder against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Michael McGreevy, I'll pass. Like, these guys just don't look good today. They don't look good. And that's okay. Big Kev, all HBO shows 90s through 2000s are, you're right. Most of them were really, really good. Really good. So, all right. Here's what I want to do. Let's talk about Tatsuya Imai for a second. All right. Yeah, True Blood. I mean, that was my wife and I at the time, girlfriend, but we used to watch that. It got super corny, though. I mean, I guess it was kind of corny from the jump, right? They're vampires. The Sopranos is better than The Wire. No, The Sopranos is amazing, and I don't even fault you for saying that, but The Wire is the greatest show ever. Boardwalk Empire is elite as well. Elite. Go watch that if you haven't yet. Anyway, with Imai, the way I see this is it's not a great he's not the best pitcher, but he has a 24% strikeout rate. And Cleveland's just not a very good offense. I don't know how many times we have to say it. Yeah, Leftovers was good too. That was very good. The best single season of TV ever, though, was True Detective season 1. And if you can feel free to argue with me, but you'll be talking to a brick wall. There's no one that can convince me otherwise. It's the best single season ever. I had Imai. Yeah, dude, here's the thing about Imai. Imai can go out there and look really good, or he can not get out of the first inning. And last start, 5 days ago, he did not get out of the first inning against a not great Kansas City team. I'm going to go ahead and guess that the weather in Kansas City was crazy because that ended up being a 10-8 game. And I think Houston scored like 9 in the first inning. But I actually don't hate Tatsuya Imai today. I don't. And one of the primary reasons for that is that Cleveland against righties is not good. Dude, they're not good. First of all, Imai is cheaper than every pitcher on this slate not named Kyle Freeland at Coors, Bubba Chandler at Coors, and Rhett Lauder at Yankee Stadium against the Yankees. He's $6,000. He's dirt cheap, 24% K rate. Now, the negatives here, he walks a ton of batters, and while he has a 50% ground ball rate, he also has a 17.5% home run to fly ball rate. So if he gives up a fly ball, it's going far. That's the thing. But this Cleveland active roster, not great. Listen, Jose Ramirez is on the IL, right? Martinez is on the IL. Chase DeLauder is on the IL. So this team, they're 10th in strikeout rate. They're dead last in ISO versus righties. Their active roster has 27 home runs against right-handed pitching. Like, you take Ramirez out of the lineup and you absolutely neuter them. And then you take a couple other starters out, and it looks even worse. So, I mean, Malcolm, according to Hollander, Miller will now be limited to 75, 80 pitch. I saw that. Again, that's what they say. It's easy to say that until the guy's cruising. So I don't know. I'm not going to try and get crazy on Miller. I just wanted to throw it out there that he's been so good. He's been one of the best pitchers in the league in the starts and the outings that he's had. But I do think Imai against this watered down kind of skeleton crew of a lineup for Cleveland actually looks okay. 4.5K prop juiced heavily to the over, $6,000. I get why we're getting to Imai, and I get why we're getting to Jeffrey Springs. You don't have to feel great about it, but guess what? Guess what, buddy? If you're playing Jacob Mizorowski at 12,500, you know, there may be room for Tatsuya Imai or Jeffrey Springs. It may just make sense. Because 12,500 is really expensive. And that's why we're getting to a lot of it. My guess is that we have a lot of Mizorowski and Imai lineups. Imai is only projected for 12% ownership right now. If you look in the data hub too, like top pitcher probability, he's 8th. That's pretty decent. He's number 1 in value. Springs is 3 in value. There's the value exists, whether or not he performs, you know, up to our expectations or our desires. He's not getting a ton of ownership. He's grades out pretty well in top pitcher probability. Top value, he's number 1. Cleveland has a 4.2 run implied total, which really isn't that high going up against a 6K pitcher. You know, there's that. But yeah, Freeland might eat. The Pirates suck. But I'm not really trying to tempt fate there. Like, yeah, that's true, but the Pirates aren't great, but they're not, number one, they're not that bad. It's 85 degrees at Coors. It's an 11.5 run total. Freeland doesn't have a considerable strikeout stuff. I'm not really sure what the upside is there when you have 23 other pitchers to choose from. Pittsburgh has the highest top stack probability by almost 10%. They have a 6.5 run implied total today. I'll pass. Yeah, I'll pass. Lowest team totals, though, Atlanta, Seattle, San Diego, Boston. We talked about all those spots against Mizorowski, Suarez, DeGrom, Miller. 3.7 for Cincinnati against Cam Schlittler. Highest totals, Pittsburgh against Freeland, Dodgers against Gibson, Athletics against Soriano. How about that, man? Soriano got his, I told you it was to be determined yesterday. They hadn't announced the starter. He got it pushed back. It was scheduled for yesterday. He got pushed back to today. Vegas, all of these books showing no respect for Soriano at all. Like, I know it's in a park that's conducive to hitting, but, just think for a second. The Athletics against Soriano have a 5.6 total. The Angels against Jeffrey Springs in the same park are at 4.8. It's pretty wild. Did we talk about Sasaki yet? Yeah, again, I have no issues with that spot at all. He got off to a real rough start on the season. He managed to turn things around until last start. The White Sox lit his ass up. But similarly to what we talked about yesterday with Brian Wu. Now, Brian Wu's a better, more consistent and proven pitcher. But Sasaki has the Baltimore Orioles today. They strike out a lot, but they're not bad against righties. The only difference, and the reason I liked Wu, granted, shorter slate as well yesterday, but I still would have liked Brian Wu a lot in that spot. The reason you like him more than Sasaki today is because, first of all, they were basically the same price, but Sasaki's at Dodgers Stadium. Brian Wu was pitching at T-Mobile. Very, very big difference there. Like considerable difference from one park to the other, you know? And you can look at it here. Like if you're just looking at park factor, Dodger Stadium is tied for 9th or 8th in park factor, rolling average over the last 3 years. And the Mariners park is tied for last. Dodger Stadium, do you know where Dodger Stadium ranks for home runs? First. Pretty crazy. So yeah. It's definitely one of these spots. And yes, I understand that like Dodgers hitters hit a lot of home runs and they got power bats, but Dodger Stadium is a very good park for hitters. That's all I'm saying. Any other pitchers you guys want to talk about? I think we covered most of the important ones here. Sometimes when you have a bigger slate, you're actually forced to talk about fewer pitchers. Might sound counterintuitive, but it makes sense because you're not really forced into playing guys that you don't want to or you don't have to. Like, I don't see myself playing Randy Vasquez today or Cade Cavalli or, Landon Roop is a good pitcher, but I don't see myself getting there as well. He got to start push back, obviously, with the postponement. Seth Lugo coming off the IL with the concussion after, was it Nimmo? Who was it that absolutely drilled him off the head? Who was that? I know it was a former Met. I just can't remember who it was. Anyway, yeah, Brandon Nimmo. Let's take a look at some bats. Because I think we've done enough to really hit on a lot of these pitching options today. Clayton, my first run has Imai paired with Miz more than any other combo. Not surprised. And once we run through these stacks, stick around because what we'll do is we will look at our lineup combinations. We will look at our individual exposures for sure. That's a good way to get your finger on the pulse of what not just the exposures look like, but how the builds are shaping up early in the day. Things can always change throughout the day, but sometimes they stay pretty similar. If nothing changes all that much in the prop market, if nothing changes all that much elsewhere, you'll start to see things stay similar, but that's not always the case. Is Big Kev, is the Mizorowski-DeGrom pairing going to be popular? You know what? I don't know, dude. What I do know is that if you were to do that, you have $3,400 remaining per player, and that's for 8 hitters. $3,400 remaining. That's a tough ask. Let's see what our stacks look like. And of course, guys, we're heading into the weekend. I don't do the Saturday and Sunday show. We always have content, but for every slate the Sims covers, for every sport, MLB Strategy, 15% off. Links down below. Pretty good. And by the way, when you do sign up, do me a favor, join the Discord. Jump in the Discord. You ever have questions, you can DM me. We have all these tutorial videos on how to use all of these Sims. There's guys like Morgan who took down 50K the other day and our boy DFS Golden who took down 50K on Monday. And a lot of these mini max winners that have been crushing that are in Discord that are happy to share insight and talk to you about using these tools and all of us as well. So don't hesitate to ask questions when you jump in. I mean, you're paying for a product. The idea is that you understand, that we help you understand how to use it straight out of the gate. That's more important than anything else. But MLB Strategy will get you 15% off anything, including all access if that's your thing. So if we're talking about stacks, Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh we're getting a lot of today. How is that, how is that possible if we're getting 60% Mizorowski? That is really interesting, knowing that Pittsburgh bats are insanely expensive. Even with O'Neal Cruz on the IL, they're still really expensive. 5 guys above 5K. So how are we managing 15 or 17%? Maybe it's just like DeGrom and Imai type lineups. We're about to find out. All right? Because we need to figure that out. Yankees. A lot of Yankees against Rhett Lauder. Athletics against Soriano, a lot of that too. A decent amount of St. Louis today against Seth Lugo. A lot of Angels. A decent amount of Angels. Not a ton, actually. Like 10%. Let's see. Pittsburgh, 30% exposure. 29% Yankees. 15% St. Louis. 11% Athletics. 9% Angels. 7% Cleveland. 7% Dodgers. All right, we got to see what our individual exposures look like here. Can't bury the lead on this one because now I'm genuinely curious how we're going to make Pittsburgh work. Logan O'Hoppe, 20%. Ivan Herrera for St. Louis, 18%. Langoliers, 11%. All right, so Henry Davis at 3,800, we're getting 9%. That's Pittsburgh. Escara, we're getting 9%. That's Yankees. Where's the big exposure? Ohtani, 36%. Manzardo, 20%. Burleson, 11%. Nick Kurtz, 11%. Ben Rice, 10%. That's first base. Second base, Jazz Chisholm, 37% against Lauder. They have a very high total today, right? And if you look at the data hub, Yankees are at 5.5, tied for 4th highest on the slate, behind only Pittsburgh, the Dodgers, and the Athletics. It's crazy the Athletics against Soriano with that number. And then Nick Gonzalez is the only other high-owned second baseman we have. There's a Pittsburgh guy, 5,200, 31%. With multi-position eligibility, third base as well. Ryan McMahon for the Yankees, 19%. Blaze Jordan, St. Louis, 11%. Jared Chiolo, 26%. He's $3,200. Okay, so now you're seeing a $5,200 and a $3,200 player for Pittsburgh. Those are the two highest right now. Chiolo probably batting 8th at 3,200. But at that price point, very cheap, 26%. Caballero, 21%. Zach Neto, 10%. Now in the outfield, how does this one look? Marcelo Zuna, 4,200. Esmeralyn Valdez at 3,100, 24%. Okay, so this is what we have to do. This is what I need to know now. Because if you're taking the expensive bats for Pittsburgh, right? Gonzalez is 5,200. Brandon Lowe is 6,300. Brian Reynolds is 58. Spencer Horwitz is 5K. Those are your guys above 5K today. It feels like we're getting a lot less of those guys. And then Ryan O'Hearn probably not starting, I would think, right? Against the lefty. So let's go to the filters and see team pit exposure. All right. So Ozuna 34% at 4,200. Gonzalez 31% at 5,200. Trollo 3,200, 26% of him. Valdez 3,100, probably batting 6th. I mean, you have to. 24%. Now, that's the interesting thing, though. When you look at some of these guys that are really expensive, like Brandon Lau, 11% at 6,300. Brian Reynolds, 5,800, 6%. Spencer Horwitz, 5% at $5,000. So we're getting to a lot of these Pittsburgh stacks, but it is not necessarily the expensive guys. So now it makes a whole lot more sense what we're dealing with. Right? A whole lot more. Whereas if you were jamming the top of this order, you have no room to do anything with pitching. The top 5, not including Marcelo Zuna, are all 5K plus. I don't know how you do that. Really don't. And then if we take a look at the individual lineups, here's a Pittsburgh 5-man. It's Jeffrey Springs and Imai. Okay, that's insane. You guys see this? The second one. Second highest simmed ROI lineup went on this run. Ohtani, Jazz Chisholm, Nick Gonzalez, Chiolo, Brian Reynolds, Marcelo Zuna, Esmeralda Valdez. That's a 5-man Pittsburgh stack with Shohei Ohtani and Jazz Chisholm with Jeffrey Springs and Imai. That's wild. I will absolutely play that lineup. It's insane, but I like it. A Yankees 5-2 with Colorado with Mizorowski and Imai. An Athletics 5-man with Mizorowski and Imai. Oh, here's a Mizorowski DeGrom lineup. Cleveland 5-2 with Seattle. And let me tell you something, by the way. As much as I sit here and say that I think Tatsuya Imai is viable today, because he is at $6,000, you'd be crazy to think that the Cleveland Guardians stack isn't. They're absolutely viable. Because Imai is liable to get shelled, and while Cleveland isn't good, they're so inexpensive. So this is one of these, unique spots, and we see it relatively often, where one team is just not good, but they're also incredibly cheap, and the other pitcher isn't great, but he's incredibly cheap. So both of them make a lot of sense. And in this instance, you could get to some Cleveland stacks. In this case, a 5-2 with Seattle with Mizorowski and DeGrom. Clayton, before you ask, because I know you will, let's see. Let's see if we have Mizorowski, how many Mizorowski and DeGrom lineups we have. Out of 150, we have, wow, 16. 16 out of 150 is not nothing, I'll tell you that much. That's what? That's almost 11%. How about that? Almost 11% Mizorowski and DeGrom. Cleveland, Seattle. Cleveland 5-man. Milwaukee 5-man. Milwaukee Yankees 5-3. That's interesting. And mind you, it's Milwaukee against Martin Perez. Angels 5-man against Springs with Mizorowski and DeGrom. So it is, in fact, doable. Yankees, Pittsburgh 2-2. Angels 4-man. St. Louis Yankees. Angels, Cleveland Yankees, triple twos there. Yankees 5-man. That has Ohtani in it as well. Look at that. A Yankees 5-man with Ohtani with Mizorowski and DeGrom. This is why I love doing this show and going through some of this stuff, because it shows you what's actually possible. You're going to have to get to some cheap options, no doubt, but whoo, that's crazy. That is something else. So it's basically like a lot of cheaper Pirates. It's a good amount of Mizorowski, DeGrom, but a lot of Mizorowski and a lot of DeGrom individually as well. Your cheap options are Springs and Imai, who we're getting to a lot of. 8K, Sasaki would be the guy at 11%, but not a ton. And then for stacks, like I mentioned, if you're getting cheap, you're going to get to some Cleveland stacks because they're cheap. Some cheaper Angel stacks, some cheaper Milwaukee stacks if you're getting the Mizorowski and DeGrom. There's a lot of ways to make this work. A lot of unique builds out there today. It's a really good slate. Really good slate. So, appreciate you guys hanging out. See if there's any good home runs before we get out of here. And as always, if you're looking to make things a little easier on yourself when that volatility and variance hits during the DFS runs, during runs and downswings over at OddsShopper, your first week or month is 50% off. And if you're not betting alongside DFS, I don't know what to say to convince you that you should be, especially with all of the tools that we have, whether it's the liquidity tool so you can spot sharp money coming in on all the exchanges and tail that sharp money without having to do the research, whether it's the in-game EV tool where you can set your custom sharp books that has in-game notifications, whether it's the arbitrage or just portfolio EV with all of our plus EV bets pre-game, and this odds screen that I've got pulled up right here with all of the best home runs. Oswald Pereza, there you go, plus 650 on Bet365. Jack Caglione, plus 500 on BetMGM right now. These are good bets with significant edges. Jesus Sanchez, early game, plus 750. Kevin McGonigal right here, plus 730 on FanDuel. That's going to move. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. That's good value right there. Lars Nootbaar is another one. Use this odds screen. Select your own edge books. And grab some really good home runs, some good strikeout bets, some good everything bets. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day and a great weekend. I'll be back with you on Monday. Don't forget, you got MLB Live before lock tonight. They'll be carrying you through the weekend as well. Your boy EMAC hanging out over the weekend. Make sure to check that show out. Grab the tools. Use the avatar. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. And as always, all you got to do is tweet us your wins. That's it. Tweet us your wins. Get a free month. You can win up to 3 times in a calendar year. 4 if you win the Millie. 5 if you hit a 20K plus win and you get into the Ring of Honor and you get that custom ring in the display case. So all you got to do is rock one of these avatars at stochastic.com/HOF. Make sure you have it, man. You're leaving money on the table if you don't. Anyway, you guys have a good one. I'll see you back here Monday. Have a good weekend. Let's enjoy it. Go USA, huh? USA. Time to win some soccer. I'm now like, I'm the biggest bandwagon fan you could ever imagine right now, but that's okay. It's all right. You're allowed to be a bandwagon fan during the World Cup and the Olympics. I firmly believe that. Until next time, my friends.